Connecting community through business, building relationships, and building Waterloo Region. 570 News presents Business to Business, powered by Save on Energy. Here's your host, Glenn Pelletier.
And good afternoon to you. Welcome to another edition of Business to Business on 570 News, powered by Save on Energy. Greg DeRocher, hey, good to see you again, Greg. President and CEO of the Cambridge Chamber of Commerce, and Ian McLean, President of the Greater Kitchener-Waterloo Chamber of Commerce.
It's always good to be in studio with you, Glenn.
We've had a lot of fun.
You keep Ian away from me a little bit, and that's the way I like it.
It's been a lot of fun for the last year and a half, and we look forward to many, many more shows. Speaking of shows, you've got something very important coming up on Monday night that you're joining forces on.
Yeah, we were talking about this the last few weeks, and we've had a couple of guests last week, but our business expo that we host jointly with the Greater KW Chamber, the Cambridge Chamber, and the Guelph Chamber is tomorrow, and we're really excited about it. We're sold out. We've got about 200 exhibitors. We're expecting well over 1,200, 1,300 people, and we're encouraging everyone that's listening today to come out. There's going to be a wide variety of businesses that displaying what they have to offer, along with some really informative information sessions that some of our partners like Business Development Bank and FedDev and others will be giving about how business can access the programs that are there to support them. So
and Protunity is going to be there.
Protunity.
You know, Protunity, I know we've talked about. We had Wadud Abraham on talking about it, but you know what? He's going to be there. So if people are interested in really being able to connect internationally with other businesses for either purchasing or selling their products or services, Wadud will be there, and he'll run people through the program and show them exactly how it works.
No,
so
I want to go back to something Ian said off the top. He used the phrase "sold out." You're talking about the exhibitors.
Yes, no.
Okay,
Let's be clear about this. The exhibitor booths are sold out, so we're fully subscribed.
The attendance is never sold out.
Well, it's free.
This is free to anybody.
Any of our members of any of the three chambers, but anyone from the general public. This is an opportunity for anyone that's listening today, whether you're a chamber member or not, to come and see what our business community has to offer. So we're encouraging everyone to come down. There is, I don't know how many. I think we've got 12 or 14 caterers that.
There'll be great food.
So there's always great food and refreshments.
But that's the mantra of the chamber.
You've got food.
That's why you're packing.
I'm slimming down.
Gentlemen,
you're beefing up.
We've got food and Wadud.
Food and Wadud.
But we also have, so part of what we did, and we started that last year, is we have the Ministry of Economic Development from Ontario coming to give some seminars on programs that are available for local businesses to access, as well as the Business Development Bank. There'll be representatives from some of the other departments, like I mentioned, FedDev and others, where people can go and ask those questions, like how do I take advantage of the programs you have? So, and along with Protunity, which I think we want our businesses to start to understand, is that's actually matchmaking, specific matchmaking, business to business. And that's what chambers are good at, and that's why we're doing this together, is that we can get our collective members together and say, hey, I didn't know what was available in Cambridge or Guelph, because we know, and that's why we work together on so many things. We're stronger when we work on behalf of our collective business.
And just the plain networking, Ian, you and I know, because we've been at a number of these. The networking is absolutely fantastic. Glenn, you're coming as well.
I'm looking forward to it. I think I've been to one before, but I'm really.
You might have, but you keep asking. Well, how do I get invited? You wanted some sort of VIP thing.
We've got a VIP pass. We just gave it to you right now.
I want VIP treatment.
Ian and I will be wearing our Glenn Pelletier fan shirts, and
we're going to do our hair like the way you do it too.
Okay.
I don't think so. Mine's not long enough.
But we have a great show. I mean, we've got. We're going to talk to
Minister Goodyear.
And he spoke to an event you had on Friday.
Yep.
And what you mean? Was he talking about?
It was all about the new European trade agreement.
Okay.
Basically, and he prefaced it all by saying, not all the details are done yet. There's still a lot of T's to cross and a lot of I's to dot. But great, informative talk, and he's going to be. That program is certainly going to be well received by our members and but we do have Mr. Goodyear
Gary's
on the
coming
show.
up later in the show today.
Yeah.
And I should point out that he's not just there as Cambridge MP. The reason he has a little bit of special importance to you from a business perspective is he's the Minister of State responsible for the Federal Development Agency for Southern Ontario, basically charged with driving Ontario
driving
business.
the economy in Southern Ontario.
He's met with a lot of success in that.
Done a wonderful job.
Yeah.
So that's the reason we're talking about that as much as we have over the last 4 weeks. We've had John Tennant on, we've had Peter Braid talking about that initially. We've had now Gary will come on today. It is a huge deal. Like, I mean, and when you think about this, and I think what he'll tell us later, because I keep hearing this is bigger than the North American Free Trade Agreement in terms of its capacity to grow. I mean, we're talking 500 million people in Europe. It's 28 or 30 countries in the EU.
That is nearly double the size of
so it's a huge deal.
And as hard as it is to believe, it's a lot bigger than Rob Ford is.
Oh, God, let's not even go there. But
I was waiting to see who would be the first to broach that subject.
Well, of course, it was me.
Surprise.
Well, we could address it briefly. I mean, he is in many ways become the face of Toronto, and from a business perspective or a tourism perspective, or from creating an image for the city, this is nothing but bad.
I'm not sure it's going to have any effect on business in reality, but I can certainly understand Toronto businesses saying when they're working big volume trade agreements themselves and other countries, and having those countries look, well, what kind of a mayor do you have? But aside from that, in reality, oftentimes these local political figures like mayors, and they think they're that big component. In reality, business goes on, and in a lot of cases, this isn't going to have any effect on Toronto's economy.
I agree. I mean, I don't the details. I really don't. The details aren't worth getting into. I think the point that is a fair one is when you're the butt of jokes on U.S. late night talk shows, that's not the reason you want to be on TV or radio. Is dealing with what effectively is a circus sideshow. Now, the reality is, I agree with Greg. I mean, the bottom line is that business will go on. There's very little direct impact that a mayor, even the size of Toronto, has on day-to-day business. I think what it does, though, is it sends a bad signal for those that are thinking of investing in a community or want
at
to
least conducting business with the city,
or conducting business with the city, or reinvesting. And what we always have to keep in mind is economic growth primarily comes from people that are already doing business in your jurisdiction. Like 85%, 90% of your economic growth is going to come from people that are already doing business. And if those people are kind of going, wow, I'm going to be a little more cautious, I think it slows things down. But for me, the reality is that this will come and go one way or the other. He's either going to be there and will be completely marginalized by his council, or he'll take the best advice that I've heard is just go away and get yourself personally right, because you cannot watch this without saying it's a train wreck.
You guys are both former city councilors. I mean, how astounded are you at the lack of control,
the continual stupidity that comes out of the
when you have personal problems like this. I mean, and he clearly has. I mean, by most people's account, he's got a drinking problem and he's got a drug problem, and when those things happen, you lose self-awareness and self-control, and those things become more and more obvious. But
right.
It's
quite evident his handlers don't have a handle on him.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, and I think the other thing we're going to deal with today, and we're going to give you a more of a detailed update to our listeners, is our efforts on fair tendering in the province of Ontario. We'll give you an update, but we've got invitations out to the provincial leaders. We're going to have a provincial leaders series and speakers and have them on the radio program, because we want to hear about that and what their plans are for the future, because we fully expect, I would be astounded if we don't have an election in March, April,
absolutely,
in the spring. So we want to have them out in advance to say, what are you doing? What are you going to talk about? What's your themes?
By the way,
what's your position on fair tendering across the province? So that will certainly be one of them.
All right, we're going to come back with our first guest, Cambridge MP Gary Goodyear. He's next when Business to Business continues on 570 News.
Business to Business, powered by Save on Energy, a presentation of 570 News. Watch the live video webcast at 570news.com. We'll return with more Business to Business. You're listening to Business, powered by Save on Energy, featuring local businesses, solutions, and success stories, connecting community through business on 570 News.
Welcome back to 570 News and the Business to Business Show, and it's brought to you by Save on Energy. And our next guest is a man who, well, by now really needs no introduction, Cambridge MP Gary Goodyear.
Minister Goodyear, it's great to have you on, as it was to have you as a guest speaker on Friday morning with our chamber members in Cambridge. And your talk that morning was on the European trade agreement that has just been signed, at least the intent to engage in an official trade agreement has been signed. So, but you talked about some interesting comments this morning, in particular around the dairy industry, and I think there was a question there, and I think it's probably important for the listeners, certainly to our show, that maybe you touch on some of the interesting parts that you mentioned this morning in defense of that industry.
Yeah, I think that the concerns that we do hear, everybody seems to be in favor of this, and everybody recognizes the massive opportunities for Canada, literally billions and billions of additional dollars in economic value, 80,000 potentially net new jobs. So it's a massive preferred access to an additional 500 million people. But we are hearing, some concerns. Now, I want to preface this that we've heard concerns before that have never transpired. I remember all of the stuff that was around NAFTA, and that really wasn't an issue. Now, in this case, we are hearing from our cheese and dairy producers, but this actually isn't something that I feel they should be concerned about. For example, the EU already is entitled to export cheese to Canada under World Trade Organization quotas equaling about 3%. This new agreement increases that to about 4%. So while it's a small amount, there is some concerns if, in fact, that was the only side to this agreement. But the other side is that dairy farmers and their product just got unfettered preferred access to 500 million new customers. And I would suggest that they grab that opportunity and smile.
So, Minister, you're the Minister for Federal Development Agency of Southern Ontario, and which is really important for all business right across Southern Ontario, from Windsor right to Cornwall. I mean, you're a large part of Southern Ontario. How is FedDev going to try and support, and for our listeners in this region, how will FedDev try and support businesses they look to that, as you call it, that massive new market, and try and get that toehold into that new market? So what are the programs and things that you're looking at with your ministry staff to support business in Southern Ontario, but specifically here in the region of Waterloo?
Oh, that's a great question. And just outside of FedDev, I should say that we do have a Department of Foreign Affairs and trade commissioners and ambassadors that have in the past done great work for our businesses. So coming back to FedDev, of course we look for opportunities to be partnership builders and conveners of improved negotiations and connecting businesses in Southern Ontario, here in Cambridge, across the region and throughout Southern Ontario, to in fact move their current products into this massive new market. So we're here to help people understand that process. But as FedDev has always done, and more so with our newer generation of programs, which we will be announcing over the next couple of months, so I can't talk too much about that today.
You can make news today, Gary.
Yeah, but the point is that we have evolved our programs to not just creating jobs, any job, as you know. We are working with businesses all across the province to improve their efficiencies, their productivities, their adoption of new technologies, so that they can compete better in what we've always said is the new global environment.
Mm-hmm.
So FedDev is there to listen to companies' needs. We're there, obviously, for not-for-profits, for community organizations, cities, municipalities, universities, all of that. But on the business side, our programs will be focused to help businesses go to that next level. If they have a product that we feel Europe wants, we will help them move not only the product through testing, help them get on their way with respect to training for staff, but also the introduction to folks in that new market that can get their product on the shelf. So we're here to make sure that we move the entire economy in Southern Ontario literally to that next level, global competitiveness ready, and continue to improve our innovative capacity as a province.
We're in conversation with the Honourable Gary Goodyear, Cambridge MP, who addressed a chamber function on Friday.
That's correct.
Yeah.
I think, and Mr. Minister, you gave me a little bit of education as well. CETA does not stand for Canada-Europe Trade Agreement. It stands for comprehensive.
It stands for Comprehensive Economic Trade Agreement.
Right. So on that point, because you touched a little bit on it on Friday as well with our members, this actually could create or open up an opportunity where NAFTA and the Canada-U.S. trade agreement could be opened up for some of those comprehensive, more comprehensive items within this agreement could be extended to both the U.S. and the NAFTA agreements as well.
Well, I hope that I didn't make the implication that we're looking to do that. But what I was implying was that this particular agreement is probably, I think it's the largest agreement Canada has ever signed.
Mm-hmm.
It's more comprehensive
Mm-hmm.
than NAFTA ever was, and obviously it took a lot more negotiations. It's obviously not just with one country, but 28 different areas across the European Union. So in that regard, it is much more comprehensive. But the fact that Canada was able to pull off an agreement on such a large scale, our brand, well, we are already deemed to be we're the envy of the world in terms of our balance sheets. We're number one. We have the strongest job growth in the G7, and all of these very good things that the world respects us for. We just really up the brand of Canada and our ability to work at the largest of scales. And I think that will help us in all of our future negotiations with any country that we want to participate with. And right now, Greg, we have about 50 trade agreements that are in negotiation, and no government in our history has signed as many trade agreements as this one has. But this particular one, CETA, is by far the largest with the most potential for stabilizing first, but really bringing prosperity and economic growth to our nation once the final agreement is signed.
Yeah, so, Gary, I want to come back on that. I mean, I think that's very important. We've been talking about this probably the last 4 weeks in a row on this program, at least to some extent, because this is a huge, from our perspective, from the OCC and the Canadian Chamber, it's a huge deal. But I want to come back to your department, and you're talking about, and I understand you're not going to talk about the specific programs, but one of the things we find is there are lots of programs out there, but some businesses don't know how to access them or don't know how to get in the door. So how will businesses that want to connect with FedDev, what's the best way for them to connect and say, hey, here's the business I do. Is there a program that can help because I want to grow my business and sort of move into those new markets? How do they connect with your department?
I would say, first of all, I run around the province at great length during all these so-called break weeks and meet with mayors and meet with businesses. I just finished a 2-day, very hectic tour in our aerospace and defense industry. So we do this all the time. And that's how we try to get the message out, Ian. But I'll tell you what, this is a great question, and my response would be feddevontario.ca.
You know what? I want to point something out, Gary, and you deserve some plaudits for this. A lot of people don't know how FedDev Ontario has been progressing or the kind of work that it's doing. I want to point out something that was written about you last year in the Financial Post, written by Jameson Burkow, who said of your mandate and your organization, quote, halfway through its 5-year, $1 billion mandate, Mr. Goodyear's Federal Economic Development Agency for Southern Ontario appears to have enjoyed unbridled success in helping Canada's most populous province save itself from economic oblivion. So kudos to you on that.
Wow. I had not read that article. Obviously, my staff keep the positive stuff from me and just all the negative in my night reading binder. We have worked really hard. I mean, in the beginning of FedDev, we looked to create jobs. We were paving streets and putting in curbs and doing whatever we could to move money into the economy. We partnered with folks that had a record of doing that, whether it was the Business Development Bank or the IRAP programs. But as the economy changed, we modified our programs really quick, and we still stick with that. This is the one agency that does not bring out a program and then let it sit there for 10 years. We monitor our programs, we measure the success, and now we're not just looking for the creation of a job. We want long-term, high-quality jobs, economic stability, economic diversity for communities that maybe just have one or two employers. We focus on areas that are very hard hit, but of course, we need to get the message out so people can make application, so we can say yes to those projects that will hit our goals. Now, Ontario, Canada is doing very well in the world sort of thing in this economic downturn. Ontario, unfortunately, is not achieving the same kinds of success, and that actually is why we have, for the first time in history, a federal economic agency in Southern Ontario. I mean, it's both good news and bad news. Right. But I appreciate those comments. We have a great team at FedDev. These folks are out there listening to what is needed, and then we work hard to implement policy and programs to hit those.
Well, I think what you'll find, Mr. Goodyear, is that we're gonna see some real fast-paced economic growth in our province because of the European Trade Agreement. So congratulations, and thanks very much as well for taking time today to join us.
It's my pleasure. I appreciate the time with you. Please enjoy your day. Thanks.
All right. Our guest has been Cambridge MP Gary Goodyear, also the Minister of State responsible for the Federal Development Agency for Southern Ontario. You're listening to Business on 570 News.
We'll be right back with more Business to Business powered by Save on Energy. Call in with your questions at star 570 570-2545 or 1-800-570-5715. Not just what you know, it's who you know. Connecting community through business. This is Business to Business on 570 News, powered by Save on Energy.
Welcome back to Business on 570 News, and we're continuing our conversation with, as always, Ian McLean and Greg DeRocher. Ian, the President and CEO of the Greater Kitchener-Waterloo Chamber of Commerce. Delightful building, by the way, on Frederick Street? Queen Street, sorry.
Lovely building.
Beautiful.
Delightful.
What is the history of that building?
The history that was old Dr. Bean. He was a surgeon in town. He actually had in the basement off of Aaron Street. He had his doctor's office, and he saw patients there and did surgery up at the hospital, and that was his family home. And it's lovely, but as all small or older homes, it's also expensive.
Because we always talk about the chamber, we never really reference where you are. And Greg, your office, the Cambridge.
Ours is at the Gateway, right at the 401 and 24 highway.
All right. We just finished talking with Gary Goodyear, Cambridge MP, Minister of State for the Federal Development Agency for Southern Ontario. Just very quickly now, because I wasn't there when he spoke to you guys. What was he basically saying?
Well, he was basically saying this is a great agreement, and we need to be getting ready now, because the EU trade agreement is a big deal. And every business needs to start preparing now, because 18 months, 24 months down the road, when this thing finally gets its T's crossed and I's dotted, you got to be ready, because you got to get out of the gate fast. But that, in fact, is the macro level of doing business, and we need to be focused on doing global business. But this business expo that we've got going on is really the micro level right in our region of Waterloo. Great exposure for the businesses that have got booths, but also great opportunity for business leaders and owners and employees to come together and meet others in business in the community, because oftentimes we find we didn't know that service or that product was right here in the region or the catchment area of the three chambers, which is the Guelph Chamber, Greater KW, and the Cambridge Chamber. And I think it's really important that the entire business community comes out. And you don't have to worry about, I'm not a member of one of the chambers. That's okay. We want you to come out. We want you to see, first of all, all of the participants there and all of the individuals there. But maybe that will bring you more clearer understanding of the value of a chamber membership as well.
Yeah, and as we say, when we go down the list, and we'll talk in just a few minutes about some of the people that are there, but it's large business, it's small business, it's catering, it's services, it's financial services, it's manufacturers are here, and communications, everyone. There's banks, there's financial institutions.
There's food.
There's lots of food. I can tell you right here. I was just looking on the list here, but you know what we did this week, and which I thought was interesting, and which is sort of a connector to this discussion about our business expo. Minister of Government Services and Kitchener MPP John Malloy held what they called a reverse trade show at Bingham's on Wednesday. And
very cool.
Yeah, you and I had an opportunity to sit down with about 15 other business owners of a variety of different sizes from across the region, and really give him an update of what it's like for business to actually try to do business with the provincial government, which was interesting. And we've talked about this, and the federal government has tried to make some changes, so has the provincial government. But they called it a reverse trade show. And what they had is they had the government ministries set up booths, and then they encouraged business to come and say, okay, here's what I have to do.
How do I get in?
How do I get in? But what some of the facts that came out of this were pretty interesting. They're modernizing the way you do business. Right now, you have to use Merx, which is really complicated. It's expensive. They're going to do.
What's Merx?
It's just their online.
It's not really totally online either. You almost have to hire a consultant.
But that's where they post all the government contracts, and you have to go there and you have to apply and you have to pay the money. So they're moving to an online system, which would be cheaper and
you tick boxes
easier. But $6 billion in goods, services, and procurement by the provincial government of Ontario every year, and they say that 96% of that is contracted with small business. I think what we've tried to highlight for them, though, it was that when they said it was small business, understand that small business, according to federal government and provincial government, is 500 employees or less. Our members, 75% of our members have 20 employees or less, and that's reflective of the entire business community right across the country.
I love that comment because Ian in the discussion got a little bit upset about that because clearly from those of us in the community, a business with 500 employees, we're going to consider as a pretty big business.
Yeah, that's huge.
And so, and I think they took it on. They do recognize that the way that they can broaden this out so you don't have to, and we talked a lot about you have to have the secret handshake, and a lot of people say, I don't even bother because it's so complicated. And one of the things that came out,
Ian worked there, and he doesn't even know the secret handshake.
No, I don't. So. Of course, no, that's a separate question.
This reminds me of an episode of the Flintstones.
It is. But one of the things that came out, and we heard this from probably 6 or 8 of the people that were around that table, saying, hey, look, I put my app or my tender bid document in, don't get the contract with no explanation. So I call up and say, hi, Betty or Bob, can you tell me why give me the reason so we can improve next time because it takes a lot of time. And many of them got told, no, we can't tell you. We won't tell you why you were not successful. To which both the minister
and the assistant deputy,
you have them call me because it's now government policy that if anyone calls to have an explanation of why they did not get a contract so that they can improve, that it is required.
Required.
Can you give me an example of the kinds of businesses that were on the cusp of maybe getting a deal with the Ontario government, or at least are seriously considering?
Well, Knapp Fasteners, for example, is one, and she actually brought it up first. Jenny Knapp from Knapp Fasteners in Cambridge. They had tendered on a project and didn't get it, and then tried to get the explanation as to why they didn't get it, and there was absolutely no explanation given back. Now, these folks, they do fasteners of all different types,
which is industrial and
manufacturing. But certainly the Ministry of Transportation requires all kinds of fasteners for what they do, and a lot of ministries do, but never got the explanation. And I think really what the assistant deputy said was that we have to do that.
Now, what about businesses that turned out at Molloy's trade show?
Yeah.
What kinds of?
I think it was everything, and we helped bring some people and alert people to the fact that this was on. And I know your chamber did as well.
Consultants.
But I think one of the things that was interesting is many of the businesses over there saying, I have no success getting in with the provincial government and that $6 billion market. But boy, I've got a contract with the Norwegian government and the U.S. government
and the Quebec
government, but I can't get business with my own Ontario government. So, and to his credit, the reason they're out there is they're hearing this right across the province and saying, hey, we don't want to either give preferential treatment, because under free trade agreements, you can't sort of say I'm going to buy from Kitchener business or not. But you want to have a level playing field so that they at least have a fighting chance of getting in and doing business, because our businesses are the ones that are investing in the community, investing in the other sectors, and creating the jobs and the prosperity for this region. So, anyways,
I think one of the other things too that I touched on that and both Ian and I were in that session with the minister and the assistant deputy minister and other staff. I said to them, really what you should be doing is reaching out to the local chambers of commerce. And I think I did say, especially the Cambridge and the Greater KW Chamber.
The two best chambers in the province of Ontario.
But we need that information at our fingertips as well. We need to be able to be the vehicle where our small businesses, because, you're talking about companies with under 10, under 20 employees coming to us looking for guidance and direction and help. We need to have all that material and all that information on hand so that we can help them enter that process of the procurement regulations and that whole, means of doing business with the provincial government. Because oftentimes, a small company, you got the CEO is also the person working out on the floor. They're the salesperson. They're the administrator half the time. They're multitaskers. They don't have time to do these great big contracts.
So you're in effect, in that capacity, an agent.
Absolutely. Well, yeah, we do it as
You're
a part of
part
of a membership with the Chamber of Commerce. That's one of our jobs, is to help them try and get through that. Now, we can't do the work, but we want to be able to give them all the information we possibly can and help as much as we can.
Well, and so as we get now down to our business expo, which is, as we have 180 booths, or actually 200 when you include our catering sponsors. But we have everyone. I'm just looking at the list here and saying, one of the things that the chambers do is we connect business to business. So that's a big chunk of what we do. That's our networking. This is really unique because this is connecting business to business, because they all have booths and connect with one another. But you're actually getting the general public and employees of our members to go out and say, hey, wow, what's out there? So you've got everything from hotels to Execulink Telecom, so you've got people in the telecommunications. You've got all the banks are represented, the credit unions. You've got consulting on everything from IT. You've got
hoteliers for meeting space.
Hotels. You've got Bingaman's is there, obviously our host, but anyone that's selling a service to others, Mito Graphics, our friend from Mito Graphics will be there. Management to go. There is just everything from universities.
The airport's going to be there.
So we've got lots of things. The Waterloo Region Small Business Center and programs that can help business. So it's a wide variety of things.
And Glenn Pelletier is
going to be there. It's 4 until 7 o'clock tomorrow at Bingaman's. The 2013 Business Expo, free to the public, over 200 exhibitors, and about 1,200 people are going to show up for this thing. Bring your business cards, network, have a good time.
Absolutely.
And we look forward to seeing you there. You're listening to Business on 570 News.
Business to Business, powered by Save on Energy, a presentation of 570 News. Watch the live video webcast at 570news.com. We'll return with more Business to Business. Growth creates a strong Waterloo region, and when businesses support each other, they support the community. Now back to Business, powered by Save on Energy on 570 News.
Time now for another installment with Jeff Quint from Waterloo North Hydro, here to talk about the importance of Save on Energy.
Well, thanks for coming back in, Jeff. Last time we were talking, it was a small business week. We were talking about ways you work with small, medium-sized business, and we ran out of time. But I did want to ask you about Peak Saver Plus, because that's something that is really targeted for the folks that we hope are listening to our show. So tell us a little bit about that program.
So Peak Saver Plus is an expansion of an existing program known as Peak Saver, and basically what it is a program to help customers manage their electricity load through programmable thermostats, and the plus part of the program is providing them with what we call an energy display. And this energy display gives customers near real-time information on their energy usage, so what they're doing right now, so they can carry it around their facility, and they can see exactly what's happening, turning things on and off, and they can learn what's what's I guess a high energy user and a low energy user, which then allows them to target different opportunities within their business. It's free to customers, both residential and small business customers. And like I said, it's made up of a programmable thermostat that is professionally installed by local installers, and this in-home display or in-business display that gives them near real-time energy information.
That's great. And so as we talk about this, I mean, building the business case. So for and I'm a small business owner. We work with a lot of small business. They're going to want to know, we talked a little bit about what the size of your programs are, but what is the business case? Like, what are some of the things you talk about? You got tangibles, intangibles, return on investment, operation costs. What are the things that you lay out for people in terms of building that business case?
Well, the key area is that everybody always focuses on is what kind of savings I'm going to see, and they look at the dollars and cents at the end of the day. But you have to look at the savings from switching from an old piece of technology to a new piece of technology, but look at the maintenance savings, the operational savings, not having to change out lights so often. Look at them all as a big project, and then use the programs and the savings to finance other projects. Use the incentive to finance that next project. Use the savings to finance that next project, and build it in something that's long-term. Something that's sustainable within the organization.
And one of the things we haven't talked about here is just the general satisfaction one gets by knowing they've done their part for the environment. I mean, I'm constantly turning lights off. Not because I'm concerned about saving money. It's not going to save you that much in my home to turn off a light.
That's just constantly. The right thing to do.
But it's just there's a principle involved, and in deliberately being green. Just for the sake of it, there's a certain amount of satisfaction in that.
Well, there certainly is, and you've got customers and consumers looking for this. They want to work with businesses that do what they do. Businesses and people like to do business with people that they like and do things that they like. So it's the right thing to do, but it's a way to really improve that bottom line, and a great way to make an impact in the community.
Now, we talk about this. Is there a place to go? Does the website have like an online where you can figure out how to do that, or is it best done when you have one of your staff come in and actually walk through it with someone?
Well, the best place to find information on it is at saveonenergy.ca, but the best way to get involved with us is contact your local distribution company, and they'll be happy to come out and walk through your facility and walk through the programs.
All right. Thank you so much, Jeff. Our guest has been Jeff Krint from Waterloo North Hydro. You're listening to Business, powered by Save On Energy on 570 News. Just a few minutes left, gentlemen, and I know you want to continue your rant on the importance of the Fair and Open Tendering Act and the importance of said freedom to conduct business.
Well, and I think it's actually it's reflective of the conversation we had about earlier in the show about the government procurement and how business can all business across province can access government contracts.
Union or non-union.
And our point on this is as people are well aware now. Being forced to use one union over another or one company over another because of that relationship is just not fair. And we know that it's going to cost taxpayers more and we're going to get less value for money. So one of the things that we want to take a few minutes today to say, here's what we've done. Well, we've sent a letter to the Premier of Ontario, Leader Hudak and Leader Horvath. We are putting together jointly, between the Cambridge Chamber and ourselves, we will have what we're calling the Provincial Leaders Speaker Series. We're going to do that in November, but really December, January, February in that zone, and give them all the opportunity to come, pick a date of their choosing, come and do an event, a luncheon event, where they can come and lay out their vision of what they see as the future of Ontario, what their party is going to run on the next election. We know that there's going to be an election. I would be astounded if it doesn't happen in April, May. So it's coming this spring. We want to have them on in advance of an election campaign where we can actually get them to maybe answer a few questions, because you know what happens in elections. They're in the bubble and they're not going to answer. So we want to have them come and do a speech to our joint chambers of commerce, as the added bonus. We want them to come on this program for an hour, and we can have an hour where we can have some Q&A and let them have a fuller opportunity to talk to all of our listeners about their party and the vision of what we were going to do. And finally, one of the things that we think as part of that is we're going to make the effort to go to Queen's Park and try and have a half an hour or 45 minutes with each of the leaders to kind of lay out, because we have probably 5 or 6 main issues that we collectively are working on. We want to share those with the leaders now as they're starting to finalize what their plans and their platforms will be for an upcoming election, so that it's very clear what the business community and 3,800 businesses that we represent across the region of Waterloo are thinking, and what would be helpful to kind of grow prosperity not only in a community sense but in a business sense. So those are the things that we've done. And I think
number one out of the gate is going to be our discussion with them on how they feel about the fact that, fair and open tendering in municipalities and school boards needs to be core and fundamental.
Yeah,
any business
absolutely.
in our community needs to be able to tender on any project.
Yeah, regardless of your affiliation, union or not. And that's the whole thing. It's not union or not union. It's about saying everyone needs to have a fair shot at government
gentlemen, that about
contracts.
does it for another week, and we thank you so much for listening. Thanks to.
So we'll see you tomorrow night, Glenn?
Tomorrow night at the Business Expo. Come on out and join us. We'll look
It's
forward to seeing
free.
you then at
Remember,
Bingham's.
it's free. No registration required. Just come on down
4
and see.
o'clock at Bingham's.
All right.
4 o'clock in Bingham's.
You've been listening to Business on 570 News.